Could it be that you're into muscles? I joked as I said this to her, who looked at my muscles and chuckled. Injured and hospitalized, I still couldn't change clothes by myself and had the assistance of the nurse in charge. You're lean but muscular, looking good, she said. I was fluttered by her compliment, and I said, watch this, attempting to flex my pecs. But it hurt, and I couldn't move them, ending up being laughed at instead. Years later, I would meet the nurse who humored my playful act. My name is Kevin, 29 years old. I work as an architectural designer, originally from a rural area. Perhaps because I was used to the peace there, when I first moved to the city, I was overwhelmed by the crowds and felt out of place. But recently, I felt more at home in rural areas. Having a car is essential, but in the city, it's often easier and more convenient to walk or take the bus. No worries about parking. My job is about a 20-minute walk from my apartment. It's a bit of a distance, but considering I have a desk job, the walk serves as good exercise. One evening after work, just 5 minutes into my walk, I was suddenly caught in a downpour. The rain quickly intensified, so I headed to a nearby convenience store to buy an umbrella. As soon as I arrived, it began pouring cats and dogs. I was about to leave the store with my new umbrella when I bumped into someone rushing in to avoid the rain. "Oh, I'm sorry," I blurted out without thinking. However, the rough-looking man who bumped into me headed into the store, clicking his tongue. He's the one who bumped into me, but he sure has an attitude, I thought. Just then, our eyes met, and he gave me a hard stare. As I was about to continue on my way, the man said, "Wait a minute, Kevin, do I know you?" I couldn't remember him. "It's me, Bob. Don't you remember? We were in the same class in middle school." Hearing this, a faint memory returned. "Oh, Bob, right. I didn't recognize you," I said with an awkward smile. With his nearly blonde hair, clunky necklaces, and sloppy shirt, he looked nothing like the studious guy from our school days. Bob, with a delighted face, said, "Hey, long time no see, Kevin. You living around here now?" "Yeah, working and living here. This is the first time I've run into someone I know around here." I couldn't help but smile, genuinely surprised. "But Kevin, you haven't changed a bit. That plain outfit, I noticed you right away." He pointed at my clothes and laughed. "Wait, plain." I instinctively looked down at my outfit. "Since we're here, let's chat for a bit. Join me for a smoke." And just like that, I ended up talking with Bob in the smoking area. "Oh, Kevin, you don't smoke? My bad." "No worries, I've got my coffee here." As we sheltered from the torrential rain, Bob lit up his cigarette, and I popped open a can of coffee. Whenever I tried to strike up a conversation, it seemed we lost our touch, and the talk would falter, stuck in an awkward silence. Wondering what to chat about, Bob broke the ice. "By the way, do you remember right after high school, there were rumors about you just vanishing?" It was the first I'd heard such a story about myself, and I was taken aback. Bob then changed his expression and continued, "It's a shame, really. You had gotten into college on a recommendation, and you were smart, but I heard your family had hard times and you had to work out of state. I was worried when you weren't at our high school reunion. Must have been tough." "Yeah, I did move out. Just didn't see a future for myself here," I said. Bob and I went to different high schools, and we didn't have mutual friends, so rumors like that weren't implausible. Plus, the house I grew up in, which used to belong to my grandma, was an old single-story place. People probably thought we were poor. I'd had a feeling people thought so since middle school, and it seemed Bob was one of them. "Well, I get it. Not many decent jobs around here. Even with your smarts, just having a high school diploma must have been tough. I understand if you feel a bit bitter about it." Bob looked at me with pity, but I wasn't just a high school grad, nor had I moved just for work. I'd always been interested in architecture, so I decided to pursue it at a university abroad where they taught cutting-edge methods. I was also good at Spanish and wanted to improve it even further. After honing my language skills, I attended that university for 4 years. Because I was abroad the whole time, I couldn't even attend our coming-of-age ceremony. I thought of telling Bob this, but I remember he always seemed to have a beef with me in middle school. Although he had good grades, often just behind mine, it probably irked him that I kept edging ahead, even if by a small margin. I never really paid him much mind, but for Bob, I was probably a constant thorn in his side. If he learned I'd been studying abroad, knowing Bob, he might just get jealous and bitter again. I didn't want to pour cold water on our reunion. Before I knew it, our conversation had veered off course. By the way, Kevin, are you married yet? Nah, still single. Actually, don't even have a girlfriend right now. I was worried he might tease me, but Bob's face brightened up. Well, look at you, still lonely. Hey, I often organize a party. I'll invite you next time. I can easily round up some cute girls. Let's swap numbers. Bob said, offering his cell phone. I wasn't too keen, but turning him down felt wrong, so I exchanged numbers. That's how, after more than a decade, my friendship with Bob resumed. I often felt like I was just making up the numbers, but Bob would frequently check in and invite me to mixers. The other guys invited were all easygoing, and I was mostly the wingman. I might not always keep up with their energy, but I didn't mind these events. I was content just listening. Then, on one of those mixers, sorry, Kevin, 2 guys canceled for tonight. I arrived at the bar, and Bob made an apologetic gesture. Now, with a 2-on-4 situation, I wondered how the night would pan out. Soon after, the girls arrived. Sorry we kept you waiting, Bob. We've told everyone it's 2-on-4. Let's just have fun and treat it like a dinner party. Don't worry about it. Just eat and drink, the organizer from the girls' side suggested. The other 3 women all nodded in agreement. All of today's members are said to be nurses. I'm impressed that Bob always managed to organize it so that every woman who came was always beautiful or super cute. Even today, I think there are some pretty ladies around. Glancing at them, one girl catches my eye immediately. It's not just that she's my type. She's exceptionally cute. Sure, there have been many beautiful girls before, but none that have caught my attention like this one. However, I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. While I'm wondering if it's just my imagination, introductions suddenly start. Bob and I go first. We simply share our names, ages, and mention that we were middle school buddies. The women's introductions go similarly, but when I hear the name of the girl I've been curious about, it jogs my memory. Amanda. Wait, could she be? I think that, but I can't be sure. Although curious, it's a common name, but she does look familiar. While thinking all this, I end up just listening and occasionally glancing at her without initiating any conversation. Even though there are only 2 men, including Bob, I, not being much of a talker, find it hard to start conversations. Thankfully, the ladies initiate topics, and one of them seems to be good friends with Bob, keeping everyone laughing and entertained. I join in the laughter and nod in agreement from time to time. However, with no other men around today, my quietness is quite noticeable. Man, this guy is always so quiet and boring. Even back in middle school, he just studied all the time. He's always been a quiet, dark sort of guy, a tipsy Bob says, laughing and poking fun at me. Really? Well, he's still better than you. The lead woman snaps back at Bob, making everyone laugh. But a drunk Bob, getting carried away, begins to blabber on about me. You know, this guy lived in a super rundown house. You know those old-fashioned bungalows? Seriously, it really was poor. I wonder how he lived there. He was smart, but because of his family's financial situation, he went to work right after high school. Didn't even show up for our graduation. I was worried, but then I ran into him the other day. Bob spoke of me in a mocking manner, enjoying every bit. I could have chimed in and said, "No, that's not true," but honestly, telling the truth in this situation might have upset the drunken Bob even more. So I just played it cool with a polite smile and let Bob carry on with the story. I always thought it was a waste. His grades were almost at my level. Well, my family had money, so I went to a prestigious university. In the end, I've done better. I'm the star player at my company on the fast track to success. Just being a grad from a famous university has its perks. Ha ha. Bob kept on, each comment more belittling than the last. Clearly, he was drunk enough. Just thinking about it makes me feel pathetic for not speaking up, but when someone's as drunk as Bob is now, it's hard to handle him. Still, Bob seems to be in quite a playful and mischievous mood today. Exasperated, I decided to excuse myself, saying, "I'll be right back. Need to use the restroom," and left my seat. Bob's being such a handful today. On my way out of the restroom, I bumped into a lady named Amanda, who was telling the waitress, "Sorry, can I add 2 more of those to my order, please?" "Oh, hello there." She noticed me, smiled warmly, and said, "Hey." I tried to reply casually but ended up being awkward about it. Seeing my reaction, Amanda chuckled. "Hey, Kevin, do you remember me? We met a few years ago." I thought so. You look familiar, and when I heard your name, it rang a bell, but I couldn't place it right away, I replied. "Thank you for everything back then." I gave a nod of appreciation, making Amanda chuckle again. "Oh, I just remembered," she suddenly exclaimed. "About what Bob said earlier about you being a high school graduate? Isn't that wrong? You had just graduated from university and started working at that time, right?" I was surprised she remembered. Of course I remember. "Never underestimate a nurse's memory," she said with a laugh. "So, did you achieve your dream of becoming an architect?" "Yeah, I did," I said. She clapped her hands in joy and said, "That's great. Congratulations." 5 years ago, I was walking to work when I got involved in a traffic accident. It was a collision between 2 cars, and the impact caused one of the cars to veer onto the sidewalk, hitting me. I was immediately taken to a nearby hospital. After some x-rays, it was found that I had a broken leg and a cracked rib. Though I had hit my head pretty hard and was out for a while, I made a steady recovery. After a leg surgery and some rehab, I was good as new. Amanda was the nurse who looked after me during that time. Even behind a mask, she was undeniably beautiful. The first time I saw her, for a brief moment, the pain seemed to vanish. Of course, that's an exaggeration, but she was so kind to me that I thought she was like an angel. Being a nurse, it might be expected of her to be kind to patients. However, when she would say things like, "You're getting better little by little," and cheerfully engage me or make small talk during 4 changes or blood draws, those moments, brief as they were, brought joy to my otherwise monotonous hospital stay. "Time to get changed, Kevin," said Amanda, appearing with a fresh set of clothes. "It's still hard for you to do it alone, so I'll help you out." She gently wiped my body with a towel and assisted me in changing. Then Amanda giggled and said, "You know what?" I wasn't sure what was amusing, but I found myself laughing along. "You have some impressive muscles," she remarked, laughing softly. "Oh, these. Well, I do go to the gym. I've always been skinny, and given my job, people tend to see me as frail, so I wanted to appear a bit stronger. It was one of the rare moments someone complimented my physique, and it made me feel proud." "Oh, really? What's your job that people see you as frail?" Still chuckling, Amanda asked. "I'm an architectural designer. Still a rookie, though. I had just started working after graduating when I got into this accident. I can't wait to get back and prove myself." Hearing this, Amanda said, "Wow, that's amazing. You have to keep pushing." Then, looking at her laughing joyfully, I playfully asked, "Do you have a thing for muscles by any chance?" Lean but muscular is quite attractive. She replied with a shy smile. See, check this out, I said, attempting to show off. But I had completely forgotten about my cracked rib. Ouch. Guess I overdid it. I grimaced in pain, placing a gentle hand on my rib. Amanda laughed and said, You shouldn't push yourself too hard. Though it was a short interaction, I really enjoyed our conversation. You've come a long way. Keep up with the rehab, and let's work hard, she said before moving on to her other tasks. After that day, Amanda wasn't my attending nurse anymore. I heard she was transferred to another department due to staffing shortages. I wished I could have gotten closer to Amanda, thinking that as I went through my remaining days in the hospital, eager to get discharged and get back to work. I was working hard on my physical therapy. While moving from my room to the rehab room, I kept aimlessly wandering around, hoping to bump into her, hoping by chance to see Amanda, but never did. Yet, whenever I remembered Amanda complimenting my muscles, I felt motivated. Not just with the usual therapy, but in my room, I secretly worked out, ensuring my arms wouldn't lose strength until my discharge. In the end, I never saw Amanda after that day and buried my feelings for her. But now, 5 years later, those feelings were awakened. You still look so fit. Maybe Amanda was a bit tipsy as she laughed, touching my biceps. When I heard your name today, it sounded familiar, but I couldn't quite place it. Back then, you had so many bruises on your face and brown hair. Right now, it's black and you seem more gentlemanly. Then I remembered the slim and muscular guy that Amanda showed her brightest smile to that day. As our conversation drew to a close, she said, Let's get back to our seats. And we returned together. Hey, where have you been? You took forever. It seemed like Bob, maybe even more drunk than before, was swaying with glazed eyes. From the looks of it, the other women were slightly put off, perhaps tired of his constant complaints and bragging. Kevin is so darn slow. Bob seemed about to go off on another tangent, but Amanda quickly started a conversation with me. By the way, Kevin, do you also design places like this? She asked. What kind of design? The others, now curious, all turned to look at me. Yeah, sometimes I do, I replied. So you've become a full-fledged professional, Amanda said with a pleased expression. Wait, Amanda, how do you know that? What do you do for a living, Kevin? As everyone started asking questions, Amanda jumped in. He's an architectural designer. Immediately, the other women began bombarding me with questions. What projects I was working on, which buildings I'd been involved with, which company I was working for. I answered each in turn. When I glanced at Bob, his drunkenness seemed to have completely worn off, and he sat there, mouth agape, frozen in shock. Well, that's expected. To think that the guy he deemed beneath him was actually working at a major architectural firm. Conversations also touched upon college, and Bob found out that I had studied abroad. Despite his earlier boisterousness, Bob was so shocked he couldn't find his words. After a while, one of the women said, By the way, haven't you guys noticed Kevin's muscles? They're amazing. Really? I was a bit curious about that too, another woman replied. The atmosphere got livelier. Didn't you say you could flex your chest muscles? Amanda exclaimed. Oh, I want to see, and let me touch it too. Everyone was eager, and when they saw the twitching motion, all the women, including Amanda, cheered with joy. Suddenly, I was the center of attention while Bob was left out, looking sulky. It was the first time I had ever been in the spotlight like this, and honestly, it felt great. As we were about to leave, the female organizer said, Can we get the check, please, to the waiter. However, the waiter smiled and replied, It's already been taken care of. Everyone was surprised and asked, What do you mean? I shouted, Tonight's on me. Although I do think it's simple-minded of me to be pleased by the attention, it was the most fun gathering I've had, so I generously paid in advance. Everyone tried to decline my offer, but in the end, I insisted. I really want to treat everyone today, and they gratefully accepted it. After that day, Bob never invited me to another party. He hasn't contacted me, and I haven't reached out either. However, the bright side is that after that gathering, I managed to exchange contact details with Amanda. Amanda was cute back then, but she's even more adorable now. With newfound confidence in her nursing career, she looked even more radiant. On our second date, I thought it might be too soon, but I said, "I want you to be my girlfriend." Fortunately, she said yes. Given that both Amanda and I were considering marriage, things progressed smoothly, and we're set to tie the knot as we approach our 30s. That day when I randomly met Bob, I honestly found it a bit of a hassle. But if I hadn't met him, I might never have reconnected with Amanda. Even though he did me a lot, I'm grateful to Bob for that reunion with Amanda. Life's pretty great now. My career is going well, and I've successfully become a licensed architect. It feels like all my hard work has paid off. With that success, I'm also drawing a more than decent salary. One of my dreams is, of course, to build a happy home with Amanda, but I'm also dreaming of setting up my private practice one day. Amanda, on her part, wants to continue her nursing job. We hope to support each other throughout our lives and eagerly await the day we become a family.